Hall of Fame broadcaster Marty Brenneman here, and he's the best storyteller in the game, and it's time to sit back, relax, and have some laughs. Welcome to the Mayor's Office, and here's your host, Sean Casey.
Boom, coming in hot, Chinch. What's going on, brother?
Super hot. One of my favorite pitchers ever. Reinvented himself, changed things, so many things. And this guy played so long. I'm going to shut up because this welcome of this person might take a very long time right now. So go for it, dude.
Like I always say, brother, nothing better than when you start researching your buddies and you're like, damn, these guys are a lot better than I thought. It's unbelievable. So this guy's one of my favorite teammates of all time. 19 years in the big leagues. 200 wins exactly, which is incredible. Played most of 17 of his years with the Red Sox, but I remember him with the Buccos for his first 2 years when I was a kid growing up and in my college years. 2009 All-Star, 2 times World Series champ on that 04 Red Sox team. Was the Roberto Clemente Award winner in 2010, but he was nominated 8 times. Let's go on that one. Red Sox Hall of Famer. 3rd in career wins, 186, only behind Clemens and Cy Young for the Red Sox. That's pretty good company. 2nd all-time in wins at Fenway Park, 97, just behind Clemens, and he's the all-time innings pitched leader for the Boston Red Sox. Let's bring in my good buddy, Tim Wakefield. What's up, Wake?
What's up, Case? How you doing?
How you doing? Yins are doing good. What'd you think when you first came to Pittsburgh and you heard that, hey, Yins like that Tim Wakefield. He throws that knuckleball down there.
Bro, I loved it. I picked up on that language so fast. I mean, I had Spanky, John Swat, all those guys have been there forever. And they say, hey, after the game, we'll go down to Chauncey's and that.
Yeah, go down Chauncey's. You head over to Chauncey's or Dawnzy's, and you're going to have a great time.
What's the bread case? Sourdough? How do they say sourdough?
Sourdough. I had one lady was like, when I first moved to Pittsburgh, she was like, could take in orders. I'm like, I looked at my mom like, what does that mean, Mom? She's like, it's like you guys, you know what? Oh, she's like, I was like, yeah, I'll take 2 eggs over easy with a side of bacon. She's like, Yins want whole wheat white or sourdough? And I was like, are we on Mars? Where the hell are we?
Exactly. Hilarious.
So great, bro. So Wakeman, I saw you a few months back at Big Papi's event.
Yeah.
Golf tournament, and I know one thing I know for sure about Tim Wakefield, he's golfing a lot. So how's everything going, dude? Are you down in Florida right now, or are you up in Boston?
I am. Well, I'm back and forth. I'm in Florida now. I came home. I got my kids in school. They started school about a week and a half ago, and I'm heading back up to Boston to do Nesson this weekend and next week.
Now, how are you liking that Nesson gig? You've been doing that for a while now, right?
Yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years. I love it. You know, now that X is going to retire, I think I may get into the booth and do a little bit of color.
Wow. Oh, dude, that would be great.
I hope so. That's what I want to do, because I always thought, like, I can't talk for 3 hours, so right. I did pre and post. And then X got COVID. They asked me to fill in for him for 2 games, and I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun.
Like, what did you love about being in the booth?
It's more reactionary to the plays that are going on right in front of you. It's almost like you're sitting in the dugout watching the game. You know,
right?
And doing the pre and post, it's kind of hard to concentrate. I gotta prepare for what we're going to talk about before the game starts, and then obviously after the game, we come in and react to what happened during the game. And I got to write stuff down. I can't. I'm getting old, Sean. I can't remember what happened.
I love it, dude. I know it's the truth, bro. It's the truth. It's crazy. So, Wake, I want to start off because I got so much juiciness here. I'm written down. But I want to go back, brother. I want to go back to Tim Wakefield, the guy that we did not know. You know, not the Knuckleballer, right. 200 win guy. I want to go back to Melbourne, Florida, growing up. Take us back to, like, when did you want to play? You know, obviously, when did you want to play? When did you start loving baseball? And who were some of your biggest influences in your life that made you love baseball?
Well, my dad, first of all, he was an athlete. He ran track in high school. When I was growing up, he played on these softball leagues and tournaments every weekend. So I was always with him at the ballpark, climbing the fences, climbing the backstops, getting in trouble, like putting the chalk lines all over my arms and legs and all that stuff. But I kind of learned I wanted to be like my dad when I was like 5 or 6 years old. He got me into baseball really young. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And, when I turned 10, 12, the teenage years, that's when cable TV kind of came out, and we got to watch the Atlanta Braves every night.
America's team on
TBS.
And then did you watch wrestling right after at 7:05?
I did. But then WGN came out, and I got to watch. Like, I come home from school, and the Cubbies were on. So that's like the Cubs, and then the Braves at night. So I just I fell in love with the game. I grew up watching Dale Murphy. Phil Necro was on that team back in the 70s, and we had family that lived in Atlanta, so we would go up there in the summertime. And I actually remember seeing Hank Aaron hit a ball foul. I can't remember what it was, the year before he broke the record. So that foul, if he would have hit it fair, we would have witnessed the record right there in Atlanta. But he went back to it took him another year. And then he finally hit it.
That's right, because I think he hit it opening day in Cincinnati. He tied it 7-14, and then he hit 7-15 in Atlanta.
Yes, in Atlanta, exactly.
7-15. Dude, it's so funny you say Phil Necro. We'll get to this later, but it's amazing how life comes full circle. Yeah. He would turn out to be a huge influence in your life.
Huge.
Obviously down the road. So, but wait, I want to stay there for a second, because you ended up going to Florida Tech, right, for college. Is that correct?
Correct.
But you went as a first baseman.
I did.
And you could hit. Like, you set the school record for home runs. You actually could rake, right? And then, which I was surprised about when I saw that.
Listen, I tell people I was allergic to wood because I got drafted as a hitter. And they take that Green Easton out of my hand. I couldn't hit.
The Green Easton was
I was like, the Green Easton and the Black Magic one was my era, right? I hit 22 home runs my sophomore year there. Broke the school record. Still hold the record there now. But it was something. I loved hitting. And then I get drafted in 1988, and I was like, uh-oh, these guys throw really hard with nasty breaking stuff.
The sweet spot got a little smaller.
It went from there to
this. Oh my God, so true, man. So you get into pro ball, Wake. It's an incredible story. You get into pro ball. Can you take us through the evolution of how the heck did you become a knuckleball pitcher if you were drafted as a first baseman?
So 1988, the draft comes. I get picked in the 8th round by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I go over to Bradenton, Florida. And they send, we were there for a couple of weeks, and they send me to Watertown, New York for the short season. And I'm there, and I think my first hit was a home run, and then it was downhill from there.
You're like, this is going to be easy, right? This is
super easy. Yeah. So I finished the year hitting like maybe 195 or something crazy. I don't make a team out of spring training in 89. I get stuck in extended spring. Not playing. I happen to be playing catch with another first baseman, throwing knuckleballs. It's something that I learned from my dad, and I did it every single day. And the manager at the time in extended spring walked behind me as I'm throwing knuckleballs with this other first baseman, and he goes, "Whoa, what was that?" And I turned around like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Do that again." So I throw it another one. He goes, "I didn't know you can do that." I said, "Well, I pitched a little bit in high school." He goes, "Go over to the bullpen mounds." And Bruce Keeson was our pitching coach in extended spring.
Yes.
He goes, go show Bruce Keeson what you can do. So after the game, I go over to the bullpen mounds and I talk to Bruce, and he says, "Well, show me what you got." So I get, I had some decent mechanics as a pitcher. I pitched in high school, but I never pitched in college. And then I showed him I could throw a knuckleball, and nothing else was said. So I leave Bradenton. They promote me to Augusta, Georgia. I'm there for like a month. I'm doing nothing. I'm catching bullpens. I'm trying to play third. I'm trying to just stay on the team. Then I'm there for about a month, and then they send me back to the New York Penn League, where the team moved from Watertown to Welland, Ontario. So I go up there to Welland, Ontario. Same thing's going on. I'm not playing. I'm catching bullpens. I'm playing a little bit of second. I'm like a utility player, right? And I forget my manager's name. The guy with a toothpick. Played for the Kansas City Royals. I'm blowing it right now.
Willie Wilson? No.
Toothpick.
I was gonna say Dusty Baker. Whenever you say toothpick, I say Dusty Baker. But I know Bake wasn't your manager.
I can't believe I'm blowing it for his name. Anyway, he's our manager in Welland, Ontario, and he calls me in the office and says, "Hey, listen, the organization just had the meetings, and he told me the process. They go through everybody's name, they got to your name, and they want to release you." He said, "But Woody Heike, who was your manager in Bradenton, saw something pretty special in you. They want to convert you into a pitcher." So I pitched maybe a game or two in Welland, Ontario, and then they sent me to instructional leagues, and I became a full-time pitcher.
Oh, my God.
With the knuckleball? The knuckleball was...
With the knuckleball. They wanted me to do exclusive. My first time pitching, they had told me that night that we were in Niagara Falls playing. I'm playing third base. The manager comes out to make a pitching change, and he calls me in to the mound. He goes, "You're pitching." He hands me the ball. I'm like, okay. So I go fastball, curveball like it did in high school. He calls timeout. He calls timeout and comes out. He goes, "No, we want you to throw knuckleballs." So I started throwing knuckleballs and got through like an inning or 2 innings, and then the rest is history.
Did you just like because obviously when I face you and all these guys face you, you're 95% knuckleballs. Every once in a while you throw a heater if you're behind in the count. When you first started pitching in the minors, were you throwing more fastballs? Did you know could you control the knuckleball? Every time?
I could control it. Yeah, they sent me to high A ball in Salem, Virginia for the Salem Bucks, and they said, "Listen, you're a knuckleball pitcher. Be a knuckleball, guy." I remember my first spring training. I'm in Bradenton, and I think our AAA pitching coach the year before was Jackie Brown. He becomes the pitching coach for the Chicago White Sox, which is right down the street. So the organization had some connections to go see Jackie Brown, who was actually the pitching coach for Charlie Huff, because Charlie Huff had just left the Texas Rangers and went to the Chicago White Sox. So I get in my car and I run down and he goes, "He's throwing a sideline tonight. Go down there and watch him throw and then go talk to him. It's all set up. Jackie Brown is going to take care of it all for you." So I go down to, I forgot the name of the field in Sarasota. I show up.
Ed Smith Stadium? Ed Smith Stadium?
Yeah, Ed Smith Stadium. You're correct. So I go down there and I'm behind the fence and I'm watching him throw his bullpen. And he says, "Come on, kid." And I follow him into the clubhouse with I had a little notepad and a tape recorder. So I turned the tape recorder in. This is back a long time ago, dude. This is like 89, right? 1990. It was 1990. Yeah. So I go in the clubhouse and now I'm shaking. I got like all these big leaguers that I know. And I'm like, holy crap. I want to say like the Big Hurt was there at that time too. So Bo Jackson was around, like
some big dogs.
Some big dogs, yeah. So here I am with my little notepad and my tape recorder asking him all these questions. He was so gracious, man. He had ice on his arm, and back then he used to smoke. He had like a Pall Mall in his mouth, answering questions. Follow me, kid. Hilarious.
Do you remember what his biggest advice to you was, and did you use that advice?
Yeah, he said, don't be afraid to throw it 3-0. I mean, he said, you're a knuckleball pitcher. Don't ever get away from it. You got to learn how to perfect it, and just you got to go for it. You got to learn how to make your adjustments on the fly in between innings or in between pitches. Just keep throwing it, and if nobody wants to play catch with you, go out on the outfield wall and throw it against the wall as many times as you can. You need repetition.
Wow. And Wake, your delivery too, it wasn't like the big leg kick or anything like that. You were pretty direct to the plate. When did you start to develop that?
I had to be, because I had to be quick to the plate out of the stretch. So I just kind of managed to learn how to be quicker, because the speed of the knuckleball is only 65 miles an hour. So my release time had to be under 1-2. So I tried to be right around there,
Right. Wait, so sorry, Case, see this right here? You don't use the seams. When you went and met Charlie Huff, like did a lot of you guys, like the Negros, Do you throw it differently than Huff did? Do you ever put your fingers on a seams? Like, do you?
No, I didn't want to touch any seams, and that's something Charlie taught me. So I think he was kind of inside there like this. This is how I learned from him. So this is the horseshoe. So I tried to keep my fingers inside there, and then my ring finger wasn't touching the seam, and then my thumb, to get it in the camera, wasn't touching anything. Because I felt like if I was touching a seam, then as I let it go, it would kind of get messed up. Like it would catch a finger and then spin off my hand.
So wait, did you?
So cool.
So did you always throw it that way? You always threw it with not holding the seams and your fingers not on the seams up top?
No, originally I threw it like on the runway, like right here. I threw it right there because I could get a grip, but I would break some nails. I would break my nails, which I needed. You know, that's a big thing. If you break a nail, you're screwed.
Right.
You got to figure it out. So, I saw Charlie, how he held it, and I saw some pictures of it, and I want to say, let me try that and see what that feels like. And the first one I threw came out with no spin at all, dead. I'm like, that's it. That's my grip. That's my new grip.
Wow, man. Wow. So dude, this is incredible. So you make your way through the Pirate system, and obviously the brass must be like, what the hell? We thought Tim Wakefield was a hitter. Now he's a pitcher and he's dominating. You started moving fast. Can you take us back to when you got called up to the big leagues? That call to the big leagues, and that was that '92 team, right? That was one of the best teams of baseball. Bonds, Bonilla, Van Slyke, Drabick won the Cy Young, up and down. Leyland was the manager, Spanky. That was my team. But then you come on the scene, and I believe down the stretch you went 8-1 with a 2.15 ERA. You win Rookie of the Year from the Sporting News. You came in third, I think. But dude, what a year that was for you. Can you just take us back to when you first got called up and that first start for you in Pittsburgh?
First of all, I was shaking in my boots. That's for sure. But
Who called you?
I got called in by the manager. I'm drawing a blank. See, when you get 56, dude, you get to be 56. I can't remember. I'll remember in a minute. He calls me in the office and he says, you got called up. And I had been pitching really well at that point in the season. And a couple guys went up before me. I think Cookie was a lefty. He got called up. And Steve Cook. And I think Tomlin was already in the big leagues, I think. Randy Tomlin. Yeah. It might have been right-hander, dark hair. Here we go again. Wagner? No, Wagner.
Paul Wagner. Yes, Paul Wagner. Yes.
So we were all in Buffalo together, and he gets called up. So I'm just standing. I'm back there. I'm like, I got a better record than both of those guys, but I don't get called up. So I get called. Bombard was my manager.
Okay, Bombard.
Bombi?
Yeah. Remember Bombi?
Bombi was my manager. And he calls me in the office, and they said, hey, the big club wants to bring you to the big leagues. You're getting your call up. Go home, pack your bags and all the stuff, and meet the team in Chicago. So I fly, and I'm glad that they did this. So they fly me to Chicago. They're finishing a series there. So I get there for the nights, the second game of the series, which is a night game, and then they have a day game on Sunday. So I'm around the team. I throw a bullpen with Mundo, and we hop on the flight. We fly back to Pittsburgh, and then the following night is my first start ever. And I'm facing the St. Louis Cardinals. Whoa. And the best advice that I got from Mundo, Ray Miller was his name. He said, whatever you do, don't pitch the names. They're just hitters. As a young kid, I'm coming up. I'm facing Ozzie Smith. I mean, the whole gamut of the St. Louis Cardinals back in the 90s was pretty
Willie
impressive.
McGee, yeah.
Willie McGee, Todd Zeal.
Yes.
Andres Galarraga was on that roster.
Andres Galarraga. There's some masters.
Pedro Guerrero.
That's right. Pedro Guerrero. So I that actually, Ray Miller actually helped me by saying, don't pitch the names. It's either a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter. And I I threw a complete game and struck out 10, and I won my very first game, 3-2.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's crazy, man. What about Leyland? Like when you first, obviously you were a young kid, and Leyland's, was a young manager at the time too.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he was crushing some Pall Malls or some whatever he was crushing. Him and Charlie Huff, it must have been the thing. But what about Leyland? Like, what'd you feel about him?
Oh, I was scared to death. He called me in the office, and I'm like, oh Jesus, this guy's gonna rip my head off. Some of the stories, when I first got my first year, when we were going down the stretch and we had a bad game, I'm sitting in my locker and I can't remember who was my locker mate. It might have been Jay Bell or one of the guys, and he's screaming and yelling. And I turn back in my locker and I go to get up to go get in the shower, and Jay Bell puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "He's not done. Stay seated." And you could hear him. And back then, he wore spikes, so you could hear him walking on the tile floor in the locker room back to his office, and you can hear stuff being thrown, and then you can hear him walking back, and he's like, "Oh, here he comes." So he announced himself a lot, but I love Jim Leyland. The more I got to be around him, the more I got to know him, the more I loved him. He was an unbelievable manager, and it was just fantastic to be able to say I played for him.
That's so awesome. When you go back to like Leyland, in those games, I mean, he gave you the ball in that 92, that 92 championship run. You beat Glavin twice.
Yeah.
You absolutely dominated. I remember in Pittsburgh, we were talking here, pitch Wakefield every game. We're like, he can do it. He's a knuckleballer. He can do it. And he had brought you back, I think, on 3 days rest for game 6, right?
Yes.
That was correct. Like a must-win situation.
In Atlanta.
In Atlanta. So what was that like? What was that like when Leyland has that much confidence in you to give you the ball for those games?
To be honest, I was still scared to death. I had no idea. I'm 26 years old. I get called to the big leagues, and I'm a knuckleball pitcher that is still trying to figure it out. I'm just thankful that I'm just trying to get an out with every single pitch I threw. So if he told me, "Hey, you're pitching again tomorrow night," I'm like, "Yes, sir. Give me the ball, and I'll run out there." Like That's the way it was back then. You didn't get caught in the training room, because if he walked by the training room and saw you just getting a rub from Kent Biggerstaff or one of the other trainers,
right?
Oh boy, what's wrong with you, kid? Why are you in the training room?
Right. Oh, it's different then.
It was way different back then.
Now kids are in the training room. Now the whole team's in the training room doing whatever.
Most of them are hiding from the media, but
well, in Boston they do.
Definitely in Boston.
Hey, Wake, I'm so interested. What was after all the time getting drafted as a first baseman, now you're up in the big leagues as a pitcher. What about your first at bat? What was that like?
Oh, scary.
Who was it against?
My first at bat was against right-handed Latin guy
for the White Sox.
No, Cardinals.
Cardinals. That's right.
Let's see here. They're starting.
Slinger, my older guy.
You got Joaquin Andujar.
Tewksbury?
Yes, Andujar. No, Joaquin Andujar.
Nice.
Wow. And he threw a slider that started right at your hip. Like, oh my God.
So when did you get your first knock?
I got my first knock, I think that night.
Did you?
I don't remember. I might have the ball in my office here somewhere.
But you definitely got a couple hits with the Pirates, right?
Yes. And a homer.
Did you homer?
I hit a dinger.
Let's go. Who'd you hit that off of?
Mark Portugal, who ended up being my teammate in Boston. You don't think I played that video every single time he came into the clubhouse?
I'm sure you crushed him. And
I got sent down. I got sent down that next day.
Oh, you did?
That night. Yes. This was in 93, and I was struggling. I wasn't pitching very well. It was right before the All-Star break, and I think I was winning the game like 5-2 in the 5th inning with runners on first and second and 2 outs. And I think I hit a homer, and I think Leyland took me out of the game because he didn't want me to get a win, because they had already predetermined that this was going to be my last start, and they were going to sit me down after the game. So he took me out of the game, and I didn't get a win, but we ended up winning the game. And then they sent me back to Double-A that night.
Wow. So your time with the Pirates, a couple years later, you get released, and you get picked up. You get picked up by the Red Sox.
Yep.
First off, did you think your career was over? And how did you end up regaining this form that you really became Tim Wakefield? I mean, obviously you dominated with the Pirates and then lost it there for a couple years, and all of a sudden you went to Boston, and off we go.
Yeah, I have to give all the credit to both Phil and Joe Niekro, to be honest with you. So I get released in spring training. It was right after the strike in '94. Spring training was really short that year. I go back to Bradenton. I get one start. The wind's howling out. I gave up like 2 homers, so I lasted like 3 innings. They called me in the office, and Leyland, and who was the GM?
Cam Bonifay. No, not Cam Bonifay, was it?
No, I think Dave Dombrowski.
Oh, was it Dombrowski?
I think so. It wasn't Cam Bon. Yeah, maybe.
Sid Thrift. No.
Yes. Yeah. So I get released, and I'm driving back home to Melbourne from Bradenton. I'm like, oh, my career's over with. It was great while it lasted. Blah blah blah. I had no idea what was going on. I really didn't have an agent at the time. And then Dan Duquette called and said, "Hey, we want to sign you to a minor league deal. We want to send you to Fort Myers and work with both Joe and Phil Niekro." They were down there running this barnstorming women's baseball team called the Coors Light Silver Bullets. You remember that?
I remember that. Yes,
yeah, that was big.
That. Yes.
So I go down there, and I meet up with Joe and Phil. They just got done playing a game at City of Palms Park, and they take me to a backfield, and he says, "All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to work with you for the next 10 days. We're going to around our schedule here, and we're going to go back to the minor league fields, and we're going to go in the back bullpen, and we're just going to work." And for 10 days, every single day I threw to batters, and I can remember Phil like walking me through at bats. Like he taught me how to change speeds with one pitch, and he taught me how to follow foul balls. So like if I threw one and the guy fouled it straight back, he goes, "All right, take a little bit off this one." Or if he's pulling it down, if he's hitting it way down the right field line, he goes, "All right, I want you to add a little bit more to this one." And he taught me how to change speeds with it, and then when to throw my fastball and when to throw my curveball.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
So did he change your knuckleball at all? Like did he just help you mentally on just how to pitch?
He helped me mentally how to pitch. And I gained more confidence of throwing the knuckleball itself. Because I had the year before I got released, I was in Buffalo all year long during the strike. This is '94. I was 5-15. Like they gave me all my starts. I think I made 20 starts that year, and it was just one of those like I couldn't get anybody out. But I kept, I think 5-15 with a 5-something ERA. Crazy. Yeah. But they kept giving me the ball, trying to get me to figure it out, and I never did.
How do you change speeds with a knuckleball without changing your how fast your arm speed?
It's just how you let it go. Like I can really, it's you got to have the same. It's almost like a changeup, but you got to have the same arm speed, but don't like add any force to it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's brilliant.
Yeah, crazy.
Dude, it's incredible. And one of the things I wanted to ask you was, I faced guys like I faced Charlie Huff, I faced Tom Candiotti, faced Jared Fernandez, faced you. Why can't more guys throw the knuckleball? Like, what is it that more people, because anyone can do it. You don't have to throw 95, but then again, no one can do it.
It's really hard to control, and it's hard to throw. Like I've taught guys how to perfect what they already have. Like I can't teach somebody to feel what it's like to take the spin off a baseball. If you can't take the spin off a baseball, I can't do anything for you. But if you already have that feel of throwing a knuckleball and taking spin off, then I can kind of perfect your delivery a little bit and be more consistent in the strike zone. But that's the one thing that's the hardest thing to teach is the feel of taking the spin off of a baseball.
Yeah. Wow. I always think, Wake, and I mean, let me know if, you think like people always say, do you think there'll ever be a woman in the big leagues? And I think to myself, if she can throw a knuckleball like Tim Wakefield could, that would be the one thing we might see a woman in the big leagues because she can throw a knuckleball. Would you agree with that?
100%. I think definitely a woman could get in the big leagues throwing a knuckleball. There was a young Japanese woman that came to spring training with us one year, and she threw it sidearm. She was trying to compete in like independent leagues around the U.S. and she actually had a really good one.
Wow, did she really?
Yeah.
Eri Yoshida, is that who that is?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. That's what her name was. Yeah.
And Wake, what was your biggest advice to her?
I really just helped her, perfect the feel of taking the spin off of it, because she kind of like flipped it a little bit at the end sometimes, and I tried to just get her to keep her wrist as still as possible and just use your fingers and not your wrist action. Wow,
because one thing I do know, a bad knuckleball goes a long way sometimes.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
I gave up plenty of them. Trust me.
Oh my god!
And I never looked. I never looked because I knew it was a homer.
Did you know it when it left your hand? You're like, uh-oh.
Oh yeah, you played with me for a year and a half. So remember, like I had this little, I throw it and it had this little hop.
Yeah.
And then the ball would leave, and I just go like this and ask for another ball from the umpire. Always. This is a true story. This is funny. You'll get a kick out of this. So I'm in Baltimore pitching against the Orioles, and I want to say Rafi Palmeiro was going for his 500, but it wasn't at that game. He was like, There was a big hoopla around him, and it's a day game, and it's 5th, 6th, 7th inning. I don't know. I give up one of those. I was like, bam! I'm like, I asked for a ball from the umpire, and he throws me a ball. And as I'm catching it, I hear this cheer out in the outfield, and I'm like, turn around, and the ball hits the wall. It doesn't go out. Now I don't know if Damon was on the team. Now he's picking it up and throwing it in. Now there's 2 balls in play. I'm holding one, and the ball's coming in from the outfield. And I flip it back to the umpire real quick, and he cussed me up and down one side and the other. He's like, don't ever do that to me again. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine, though? Two balls are in play.
That's incredible, dude. That's incredible. Like
so
that
funny.
might be the first time ever 2 balls are in play. I'm sure no one probably recognized it because you're like, here, take it.
I got it back to the catcher really quick. And
hot potato.
Yeah, it's hot potato. Exactly.
That's so great. So that year, Wake, when you get called up to Boston, you have a phenomenal year in 1995. I believe you start off. You began the season with a 1.65 and a 14-1 record in your first 17 starts. Incredible. You win American League Comeback Player of the Year by Sporting News. You finished 3rd in the AL Cy Young Award. What, for your feelings being there in Boston, having that success, and being with a guy like I believe Clemens was still in that rotation, right?
Clemens was there. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like pitching with him? And was there anything that he did that you're like, man, I'm going to put that into my routine? Or
yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a routine. I'm a knuckleball pitcher, so. Right. But he taught me how to work. He taught me, we would go out, we'd leave the clubhouse, and we'd go for a run. That would be our cardio for the day. There wasn't really bikes and treadmills in the clubhouse, especially in Boston back then. It was so small. They've actually built onto Fenway to accommodate that stuff now. But we'd put sanitaries around our heads, and we'd take off and start running through the city of Boston. It was crazy because people would always say, "Hey, Rocket!" like yelling at them as we're running, and I'm like ducking, like, "Oh my God." We're running with Roger Clemens down Boylston Street.
So great, dude. So great. Yeah. Did you ever think? Awesome. Do you ever think when you're in the minor leagues, you're about to get released? Next thing you know, you fast forward about 7 years later, you'd be running in Boston with Roger Clemens on the Red Sox as a pitcher.
Never.
So incredible. So incredible. Man. So, dude, you have so many great years with the Red Sox, but I want to touch on a couple of them because, it's great to look back. in 2003, I think that was such a big year for Boston, and then what you guys did in 2004. And I think without that 2003 team and what happened, you probably don't win it in 2004. But when you go back to the 2003 season, you had such a great season personally, and you started games 1 and 4 of that series against the Yankees, and you won both your starts.
Correct.
What do you remember about that year? And obviously, when you look back at it, do you think that year catapulted you guys to winning in 04?
I totally agree. So that year, we played really, really good baseball. I think we got who did we get as free agents that year? Wasn't Johnny had come over? We got Ortiz that year.
That's right.
So now we had a great lineup with Ortiz.
Was that Millar's first year too?
I think it might have. Yeah, I think it was Millar's first year. We had Timlin. I think that was his first year as well. They did a great job, like doing not only defensive and offensively, but our pitching staff was really, really good as well. And I had a great year and get to the postseason, and I won both games 1 and 4. So, and then what happens in Game 7, but.
Yeah. I mean, does that Game 7 still bother you, or after 04 you're like, no big deal?
No, it was no big deal.
Exactly.
Deal, it was hard for me because to be honest with you, knowing the history in Boston, I thought I was the next Bill Buckner. Like I got on the bus and talked to Stace, my wife, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. We need to get out of town. We need to go back to Florida right away. And then they invited me back to the writers' dinner that winter, and I walked out on stage and I got a huge standing ovation, like just tons and tons of applause, and I knew I had been welcomed back at that point.
Oh man, that's incredible! What a feeling that must have been.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh my God,
crazy.
Well, you knew at that point, obviously, to that point, that the Red Sox faithful. Obviously, they loved you so much, and you fast forward to 2004. Take us back to that team, man, because I think I got the chills talking about it because I think when you look at the 150 plus years of Major League Baseball, and you think about the history and the curse and all that stuff, and Theo Epstein being a young general manager, Terry Francona coming in for Grady Little, all the guys that you had, that team for me, Schilling coming in, wanting to break the curse, Pedro, all these amazing players. And I look back at that team and I go, if you look at baseball history, you're going to look back at the 2004 Boston Red Sox and say one of the greatest teams ever. And especially if you knew what happened in 2003. So, dude, take us back to that 04 team, man, and like the memories that you have of that year.
Man, Millar was there. Obviously, Ortiz had just blossomed into who he became at that point. Manny Veritek was the captain at that point. Johnny Damon. Oh my gosh, Trot Nixon was on that team. Billy Miller. We ended up trading Nomar Garcia Parra halfway through the year.
That's right.
At the trade deadline, and we got Orlando Cabrera. So we trade him. We got Doug Minkiewicz. As we're in Minnesota, Nomar gets traded. Doug Minkiewicz just walks over from the Minnesota Twins clubhouse into our clubhouse and straps it on, and I think we kicked their ass that night. But it was and in 04, our pitching staff was Derek Lowe, myself, Pedro Schilling, and Bronson Arroyo. Wow. All five of us didn't miss a start all year long.
Everybody with at least 10 wins too. Every starter had at least 10 wins.
Yes, every starter had at least 10 wins. We had a young lefty that came in because we had a doubleheader and started a game for us, and that was the only guy that I think we really called up that year. It's crazy.
Wow, that is crazy.
But that team, we struggled. We were struggling in August, like bad, and I promise you, it was almost like, okay, we got our asses kicked last year. We felt like we were the step kids to the Yankees, right?
Right.
You know, and A-Rod had just gotten there. That was his first year. We were supposed to get him. He was coming from Texas.
That's right.
We were going to get him.
That's
and
right.
The union wouldn't allow him to take a deduction in his salary, so we couldn't get him, and he ends up going to New York. So we're playing New York, and that's when the brawl between Tech and A-Rod happened. That changed our mindset. Like, we're not going to be picked on anymore. This is it's over. Like, this is not going to happen anymore. We're tired of getting like picked on by our older brother type thing. And I think that changed the season that year. I think we were playing right around 500 early August, maybe mid-August. And then that fight happens, and here we go.
No, that was a national game, right? Fight. That was a national game. I want to say that was a Fox game, or that was the whole country was watching that Yankees Red Sox game that day too.
Yeah. Wake, when you go back, when you guys are down 3-0 to the Yankees, and it's like, man, we're down 3-0. You know, and I love that because they got the documentaries on that team, and you got the famous clip from Millar saying, "Don't let us win one. Don't let us win one." Because if we win one, then we got Schill, then we got Pedro, then we got, and then anything can happen. And it's exactly how it played. Exactly how it played out.
It's exactly how it played out. And you know what? I give kudos to Millar because we're all like, I go home after, and I pitched that game 3 in relief just to give the bullpen a rest. I think Derek Lowe took my start in game 4, but I go home that night, and I'm Stace and I are talking, and like, okay, when do you want to go home? Do you want to stay around in Boston for a little while? We all thought, or at least I did, that we might win game 4, but 5, 6, 7. This
never happened. It's never happened.
No, correct.
Ever.
I get to the park the next day and I hear Millar chirping as I walking into the clubhouse, and I'm like, "Uh-oh, what's going on?" Like, seriously, I never read the papers, and he said Dan Shaughnessy called us a bunch of frauds. So he was chirping to everybody like, "Hey, don't let us win tonight. They think we're frauds. They think this team is a bunch of frauds. Don't let us win tonight." The whole attitude changed. All of us was like, "Okay, I got you. I got you. Let's go." What else? What else could go wrong? We have nothing to lose at this point. We win game 4, we win game 5, go to New York, win game 6, and then we blow them out in game 7.
Game 7.
That was the most incredible. Revenge. Not revenge. I wouldn't say revenge, but of all the stuff that had happened to us and me personally the year before, having to, I gave up the homer to Aaron Boone, being able to celebrate winning the ALCS in New York, in Yankee Stadium, was just a fulfillment for me, which was great. And what made it even better, I don't know if you know the story or not, but after we celebrated on the field and we go back into the clubhouse, one of the clubhouse attendants tapped me on the shoulder. He says, "Hey, you got a phone call." And you remember the little phones that were in the of the bathroom area there?
Yep.
So I go over there and I grab the phone, and it was Joe Torre. He goes, "Wake, I just wanted to congratulate you from me personally on winning the ALCS here. I have a lot of respect. I've watched it for years from across the field. I have so much respect for you. I just wanted to wish you and Johnny Damon, who I have a lot of respect for, please tell him I wish you luck in the World Series, and remember just to have fun." So that, for me, that was the most, like, on top of everything that just happened, to have Joe Torre, the Yankees manager, call me personally and say congratulations. And and we became pretty good friends after that. That was pretty special.
Dude, I got the chills. That is an incredible story. And that just shows you Joe Torre, he's exactly what you think he is, like the classiest guy. That is so stinking classy. That is awesome.
Yeah, he was an amazing guy.
Wake, when you guys won it, you went to St. Louis and you won it. Because I think everybody was like, "Hey, the Red Sox won the World Series." Like, no, they just beat the Yankees.
It was like USA beating Russia in the Olympics.
That was our World Series, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was crazy because then you went to, and then almost it was like, "Oh, you got to go play St. Louis. All right, let's just sweep them under the rug, and then we're going to."
I don't think they had a chance. We had so much momentum coming back 3-0 and winning 4 straight. And we rolled into, they rolled into us in Boston, and then we just rolled over them for the next 4 games.
Boat raced them. Yeah.
I mean, they had a good team too.
Oh, they did have a good team. Yeah, you
really
guys,
good team.
You made them look like minor leaguers, though. You crushed them.
We did. Yeah,
it's crazy. When you were talking about the 03 and 04 was really the coming out party for Big Papi, but really in that 04, some of the big hits he had, the walk-offs, and all the years you played Wake. One of the coolest things about when I played in 2008 with you, I used to love Big Papi. We'd be at the front of the bus. He'd get his whole thing going, his spiel going, and Wake, you'd be at the back of the bus like, hey, and you'd be crushing Papi. Papi be crushing you. And I just love the relationship that you guys had. After all the years playing with Papi and watching what him going into Cooperstown, but what he meant for Boston, what was so special? When you watched him play, what was so special about it? You were around him. He had this energy about him that was so contagious. He was always happy. He was never really mad. A couple of times, obviously the phone in Baltimore that he destroyed. But other than that, he was so grateful coming from the Dominican Republic from nothing, going through the Twins organization, never getting a chance. We get him. He wasn't playing then at the time. I think it was Jeremy Giambi was going to play in front of him. That's right.
As a DH first baseman. And then that didn't work out. And then David got his chance and took off running with it. I mean, the ability to get the hits in the clutch that he did right away at the end of 03 and then again in 04. I mean, he had almost every obviously game 4 he had the winning hit. Game 5 he had the winning hit. I can't remember after that because it's a blur. But and you were around him too. Like I said, his laughter was so contagious. He was so much fun to be around, and he was a superstar that was down to earth with the rest of us. Right? He was not that superstar type of guy that you couldn't give him crap for. I couldn't rag on him. I mean, I felt like I could rag on him as much as he was ragging on everybody else. So that was the fun part about it.
That's so great. I agree, man. It was like when you're around Papi, you're like, is this guy the janitor? Like, I mean, he treats he's like, he treats everybody so nice. Yeah, he was just such a wonderful guy. There's so many guys in those teams, but I want to touch on one more guy, Pedro Martinez. Yes. People say arguably maybe the greatest pitcher of all time. Like, what was it like watching him pitch? Why was Pedro so special?
Oh, man. Again, his ability to maneuver the ball in the strike zone with so many different variations, like his changeup was absolutely dirty. I saw him hit a guy in the chest, a right-handed hitter in the chest as a swing and miss changeup. I can't remember who it was. He was with the Rangers, and they had to take him out of the game. I think he broke a rib or something.
No way, dude.
Oh, his stuff was so nasty, and his fastball. I mean, his fingers were. Remember how he could just
they come backwards.
And they're this long too, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then back then they didn't have spin rate, so I could only imagine what his spin rate was on his four seam because it looked like it rose when it got to home plate. But Pedro is as high of a athlete that he was, right? That he was the pinnacle of starting pitching, right? Strikeout guy, big velocity guy. He watched me pitch, and he would not be afraid to come to me and say, "Hey, Wakey, I see this in your mechanics. You might want to change something up." And he has no idea how to throw a knuckleball,
right,
at all. But he wasn't afraid to come to me and said, "Hey, Wakey," like he would watch me.
Wow.
And he knew when I was right. He knew my mechanics pretty well. Now he didn't know how the feel of it, but he would adjust my mechanics on the fly with me between innings.
Bro, that is incredible.
Yeah. He was that in tune with everybody else around him too.
Yeah.
You never saw that.
Wow. No, dude, that's what I mean. That's such a great story. You would never hear that. And like you said, for him not to know how to throw the knuckleball, but he cared enough about you as a pitcher and cared enough about the game to go, front shoulders flying out, or maybe you're rushing too much, or
Yeah, he would change it on the fly for me. He's like, "Hey, Wakey, this is what I see." Because Joe Kerrigan was the pitching coach, and he wasn't around at that time, but Pedro had Joe as well in Montreal,
right,
before he came to Boston, and then Joe Kerrigan came to Boston with Pedro, I think in '97. So that's when Jimmy Williams, I think, took over. '95, '96, yeah, '97. Jimmy Williams was the manager, and Joe Kerrigan was the pitching coach, and we signed Pedro as a free agent from Montreal that year. That's when it all started.
Wow, man! Wow, and the legend continues.
Continues.
What about Manny, bro? The Manny being Manny. You saw so much. You saw so much of Manny.
I can't say it on the podcast.
I always say Manny was harmless, but sometimes you're like, "What the hell is he doing?
Harmless.
What the hell is he doing?"
Honestly, I don't know. Like, it's even to today. He doesn't show up in Boston for his Hall of Fame induction into the Red Sox Hall of Fame, but he comes back 2 weeks later to accept his plaque. They had a ceremony all set for him, and he doesn't show up. But that's Manny.
That's so Manny.
The funniest one was in 07. We win the World Series. We go to the White House in 08.
Yeah.
And President Bush turns around. He's like, "Well, I guess Manny's grandmother died again," because he wasn't there. He didn't show up.
It's incredible.
Because that was his excuse. Like, he didn't show up for a couple of days, and he said his grandmother died.
She died like 5 times. She died five times.
She did.
Oh my God, dude! I always tell the story. I went out. Me, Manny, and Alex Cora went out to dinner. We were playing the A's, and we went out, in San Fran for dinner. Had this nice dinner. Get the seafood platter. We're a couple bottles of wine. We're rolling a big tab up. Right at the end, Manny's like, "Hey guys, I got to go to the bathroom." I'm like, "All right." He leaves. 20 minutes later, I turn to Cora. I go, "Where the hell's Manny?" Well, freaking got in the cab and left, stuck us with the bill. It was like $3,500. I'm like, what the heck?
That was Manny, though.
I know.
He made more money than everybody on the team those years, but he never paid for anything. He never bought dinner or lunch.
Oh my God. It's so cheap. It's so cheap.
But in his, that's the funny side of Manny, right?
Right.
The real part of Manny, he worked his tail off to be as good a hitter as he was. Because people didn't realize, like, they just thought he showed up for batting practice at 4:30 and then raked in the game. But he would get there at 10. He'd work out. He'd hit in the cage. Then he'd go home and have lunch, take a nap, and then come back and do the whole process again that afternoon. He did that every single day.
He was upset. I remember when we opened up in Japan that year, Wake 2008.
Yep.
Before the game. Or after we had taken BP, I went into the cages, and it was me, Manny, and Big Papi. And, bro, I still remember that conversation because they were talking hit and how, we would do the curveball machine. Manny loved that, and the curveball machine. And he would just talking about, hey, let the ball travel, use your hands. And I'm like, man, these guys are keeping it simple, but they put the work in. They put the repetition in. And that's why they were both great, because they became obsessed with the craft of hitting,
Yeah, Manny was so good at it. I can't remember the year. We were in Toronto facing Chris Carpenter, who had that really big curveball, right?
Yeah.
His first at-bat, I think he struck out. His second at-bat, he hit one in the 5th deck in Toronto at the Sky Dome. Grady Little was managing us that year. I think it was in 2002, right?
Right.
He comes back. Everybody high-fives him. His next at-bat, he took 3 fastballs right down the middle, didn't take the bat off his shoulder. He comes back to the dugout, and Grady Little goes to say, "Hey, Manny, you still sitting on that curveball?" Manny said, "Yep." He was such a guess hitter. And if he got it, he didn't miss. He never missed a pitch he was sitting on, ever. It was incredible.
Wow. That's incredible. Hey, Manny, you still waiting for the curveball? Yep. That's incredible.
If he was guessing and he didn't get it, he would strike out.
Oh my gosh, man. That is incredible. Incredible. Well, I want to fast forward. You win in 07, and you obviously play with some great players, but none as great as when I came there in 08. and I dominated with 0 home runs. It was awesome. But dude, I had the best time, man. That was like I read Tito's book too, and he talked about the 04 teams and the 07 teams. He said one of the most talented teams, maybe the most talented, was the 08 team, and I was like, it was one of the best teams I'd ever been on, and I started to really understand. Oh, this is what the Red Sox are all about. Oh wow, they are. And they're here. And I remember Tito at spring training, we have that meeting, before spring training gets going. And Tito was like, guys, today's the first day of our quest to win the World Series. Anything less is a failure. And I'm like, I had, never been on teams like that before. But to a man, to you, Wake, and Papi, you guys all believed it. I remember walking out of that meeting and everyone's like, all right, let's go win the World Series. I'm like, this guys really believe that's what we're going to do. It was incredible.
We did. That was awesome. Yeah, we had such a great team, and we had a good mix, a good group of guys. Once we got our bearings back to us when we got back from Japan, that was a rough trip.
Talk about that trip.
Rough.
Talk about that trip.
Well, first of all, I was excited because I love the culture in Japan. Like going over there was great. We fly over there. We spent a whole week. We played the A's for 2 real games and then 2 exhibition games. The food was fantastic there. Incredible. It was awesome. Then we fly back. We go to LA. We played 2 exhibition games against the Dodgers. One I got to pitch against was at the Coliseum, which was fantastic. Remember
120,000. Yeah.
Yeah, 120,000. Yeah. Remember left field was like 210?
Yeah. with a high net.
I remember this. So Rafael Furcal, the leadoff hitter, lefty, right?
Right.
We had moved. It was so short in left field. We moved Manny to left center. He was playing left center. Furcal hits a ball inside the line. Billy Miller dives and misses it. It hits the wall, and I can't remember who Orlando Cabrera, I think, was our shortstop, right? No.
Alex Cora.
Alex Cora was our shortstop. He picks it up off the wall and held Furcal to a single. That's how close the wall was. Remember?
Yeah, dude, it was
I remember
insane. I remember you hit a pop up. It was like the shortest pop up ever. Look, I was going to the third baseman. It was a homer.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, that was like 222. You hit that thing. It was incredible. Hey, wait, go ahead. I also remember in that game, like, all the people that were there, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And do you remember Pamela Anderson sat on our bench? I was like, bro, when are we ever going to have Pam Anderson sit on our bench?
Wait. To tell that story a little more. Bench.
She sat on our bench. it was crazy. I remember because I started that game, Sean, and every inning I go out there to warm up, there was another celebrity coming out to throw. I think they had a first pitch every inning. Like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then Pam Anderson, and I can't remember. Was OJ? No, it wasn't OJ at that point.
No, OJ. And was Magic Johnson?
Couldn't have been OJ at that point.
At some point, I said, "Guys, can you get out of my way? I'm trying to pitch a game here. Can you hurry up and get it and throw it to the catcher or whoever's down there?" It was hilarious.
It was incredible. And dude, the crazy thing was, we went to Japan. We were the first team ever to open up in 3 different countries in a week. We went to Japan, then we went to LA and played that game, and then we went to Toronto and played the Blue Jays.
We got swept in Toronto. We were zombies.
Dude, I was sleepwalking. I remember it was the first time I ever took an Ambien. I was like, give me 2. Give me 2 Ambien. I was like, I don't even know what time zone I'm in here. I'm a mess. Absolute mess.
I remember the meeting we had the year before about going over there that year. And Daisuke and Okajima were on the team. And I think Larry Lucchino actually asked those 2 guys, how long does it take you when you get back to the U.S. from Japan? How long does it take you to get over the lag? They said 10 days. And we're all like, really? 10 days? Like, oh, no. So we go, and that's exactly what happened. We get over there. We come back to play the 2 exhibition games against the Dodgers, go to Oakland and finish a 4-game series that we played 2 games in Japan, now 2 more games in Oakland. And
that's right.
I think the 4th game in Oakland, the second one there, we were dead. I mean, we had no energy,
no juice.
And then we fly to Toronto and we are wiped. we're completely wiped out at that point. Like everybody's like, oh, can we get back? When can we get back to Boston? Like everybody was like dead. It was bad.
Yeah,
I never felt like that way. I've never felt that way ever from jet lag or like being overseas somewhere. It was horrible.
Yeah, that was incredible. I look back at that time. I'm like, I've never been that exhausted in my entire life. Was that week?
You remember flying home from Japan? Well, I think we left at 11 o'clock that night. The last game, I think it was on a Sunday, or I don't remember what day it was, but it was like 11 p.m. and we landed in LA at 5 p.m. the same day that we left. We're like, wait, what's going on here?
Did we just lose a day? Yeah.
Yes. We lost a day going over, remember?
That's right.
We lost the whole day going over, and we gained the whole day coming back.
That was incredible. I just remember, bro, that on that flight, it was like, I was like, I'll get to know some of the guys, and I go in the back. I don't know if you were in this game, but it was like Papelbon, Kevin Cash, Tech, and Big Papi playing poker. And I'm like, I got a couple grand. I think it was my meal money. So I look over, Big Papi's got like $100,000 next to him. I'm like, who the hell carries $100,000 next to him for a poker game? So they're dishing out the cards, Wake, and I'm like, and I'm realizing Big Papi stays in on every hand. He could have a 2 and a 5. It's incredible. I'm like, how are we going to beat this guy?
And he won.
And he would win.
Two 5 unsuited.
Yeah.
And he'd win.
He would just wait you out. There was so much money in there, and everyone would throw their cards in, a Big Papi like, hey, I won. And he'd throw it over like 2 and a 5. I'm like, this is such bullshit. This guy stays in forever.
Bro, I learned early. I got out of that game really quick. I went and played cribbage with other guys.
That's what you do for free. Yeah, you, Pedroia, and Tito playing cribbage. I remember, dude, I ended up borrowing $10,000. Like, Papi would be like, Case, stay here. Here's another 1,000. I'm like, so I lost $10,000. I'm like, all right, I'm gotta get out because that's $10,000. I don't want to give that up, So 2 weeks later, Wake, I go in the training room and Big Papi's in there getting treatment. And I go up with $10,000 cash. I go, Pop, thanks a lot, man. I give him the $10,000. He goes, wait, what's this for? I go, I just lost $10,000 you gave me on the flight to Japan. He's like, you did? I go, yeah. That's when you know you're a little too rich.
Oh
when,
my God.
What I mean? You don't remember giving your buddy $10,000.
That's hilarious.
Incredible, bro. But that year, man, was such a fun time. I had the best time getting to know you, Wake, and all those guys. But I want to go back to a story that only you and I know what happened and how incredible it was. So we go to play Tampa this one time.
Oh,
we go out to a nice team dinner, and you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yep, I do.
So we go down to this nice team dinner, blah, blah, blah. And I had been talking to John Cena. For a matter of fact, what happened was up on the board, John Cena would come up on the board and be like, all right, Rays fans, let's go feel the heat, Rays. And he would do this cheer. So me and Wake, Wake's a wrestling fan. I'm a wrestling fan. So we're like, that guy's from Boston. Like, he's not even a freaking Tampa fan, right? So I call my buddy Marty Miller and I'm like, dude, get me Cena's number. So I told Wake we had just clinched for the wild card and we go back to Boston. I told Wake, Wake, do me a favor. Let's call John Cena real quick and just crush him about being on the race team. So me and Wake get on. I call Cena. I'm like, dude, you're a Boston. And then Wake gets on. He's like, you're a loser. He starts crushing him, right? And then so Cena texts us back. He's like, let's meet up at some point. I was like, all right. So here we go. We go down to Tampa. We're about to, we do this team dinner. And then I said, hey, I get a text from John Cena. Dude, I'm going to get a quick lift in at like 9 o'clock. I'm like, well, first off, who the hell lifts at 9 p.m. at night? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So he's going to meet us at the hotel bar. And I say, hey, does anybody want to come along? So Wake's like, dude, I'm in. Jason Bay, and it was like Jonathan Van Avery, a rookie.
Yes.
So we go to the hotel bar. John Cena shows up with his fiance at the time and his soon to be brother-in-law. So then, Wake, why don't you take it away from there? Because I want to hear your version. I have my version. I want to hear Tim Wakefield's version of this story when John Cena almost killed us, you and me.
So during that year, Case and Euclid would always do the fake wrestling, like hit each other in the chest and all that stuff. So I bring it up to Cena, right? I'm like, hey, Case and Euclid, they think they're wrestlers. They pump each other up with the hand slap on the chest. Can you teach him like how it's really done? So Case is like, yeah, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. He's like, all right. So Cena gets up. And he goes, all right, Case, we do it. You hit and drag it down. Just make a loud noise and drag it down. So Case is like, well, all right. He goes, all right, you can hit me first. Case goes, hits him. Cena doesn't budge. Then he goes, that was pretty good.
Oh, my God.
So he goes, all right, it's my turn. I'll show you how we really do it. Cena hits him. Casey goes, he's down on his he's got his hands on his knees. He's bent over. He can't catch his breath. He's like, oh my God. I'm dying laughing. Everybody else at the table is dying laughing. And then my dumbass, after like another beer or two, I'm like, I gotta try that. Like, I'm not gonna fold over like Sean Casey did. Like, Cena, John, let me do it. Let's do it. He's all right. So I get him. I slap him. He hits me good. Or I hit him good. He's like, that was a good one. He goes, it's my turn. He hits me, and I stand there. I'm like, don't bend over. Don't bend over. Like, don't, like, oh, it hurts. It hurts so bad. I'm going to try to find you a picture here in a second.
Dude, find that picture, please, Wake. So
I think I have it in my favorites.
Cena hits me, I go down. He hits Wake. Wake goes, I want one of those, but I was hurt so bad. I think I was on a knee, Wake, and I was like, no, I tried to warn you and say, no, you don't, Wake. No, you don't. You don't want to. You don't want to chop from John Cena. And then remember, Jason Bay didn't want to chop, and Cena's like, you're getting one. He freaking hits Bay on the back. And then Jonathan Van Avery was a rookie. And I said,
that's right. I forgot about that.
And I said, hey, Cena, Van Avery's a rookie. Give him one. So I pick up Van Avery. Freaking Cena hits Van Avery with a chop. Van Avery goes down. He's face planted down. He's down to the count. It was incredible. It was incredible. But the next day we walked in and here
we go. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Look at the handprint of John Cena on Wakefield's chest. Look how black and blue.
Ride home.
Look how black and blue his chest.
It's like a car crash, dude. That's unbelievable.
Oh my God, dude! I remember this. Me and Wake walk in. We walk in the next day. We're both struggling. You know what I mean? We've just been crushed by John Cena.
I forgot
Probably
about
had too many adult beverages too. But at about in the fourth inning, Wake takes off his shirt, and I go, holy shit, dude. I can't believe you have a freaking John Cena's black and blue handprint on your chest. Then I take my shirt off. I'm like, holy shit, I have one too. And then I look over at Jason Bay. He's got one on his back. Van Avery, I think, is almost dead in the corner with he took 2 shots from Cena on the chest. And it's like the fourth inning, bro. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I'm not feeling great. And Wake comes up to me. He's like, Case, man. He's like, it's really not funny anymore. I go, what, Wake? What's wrong? He's like, I think he broke my rib. I think he broke a rib. He's like,
honestly,
he goes, every time I breathe, it hurts tremendously. Oh my God, Wake. What an unbelievable memory.
That was so funny.
So funny, dude. What a great story.
I remember you walked in, you had did you hit your nose on the sink that night, taking out your contact?
Yeah. I was taking out my contact lenses, and I think I yard sailed onto the freaking sink and boink. And I come in the next day. I was not only did I have a John Cena freaking handprint, I had it looked like Ric Flair tried to cut me in the nose right here, but it Wake's like, what happened, bro? I was like, I was taking my contacts out, and I ended up face planting into the into the sink.
Oh my God. You can't
incredible.
make this stuff up. You can't make this up at all. No way.
It's incredible. It's incredible, bro. Oh my gosh, you can't. Wake, all the years, man, because I remember there's so many stories, and we're gonna get going here and wrap this up. But there's so many great stories. I still remember being in on the stage with Kenny Chesney in 2008, packed house, the Patriots. And I remember Wake was like, Case. Yeah, and I remember you're like, hey, Case, let's go sing backup. I'm like, dude, I can't sing. He's like, who cares? Let's just go to the backup. I'm like, next thing you know, because it's Tim Wakefield in Boston, the guy could do anything. We walk on stage in the back of the thing, and Wake starts singing. I can't remember the song, and then I'm on the mic with him. Then Kenny Chesney comes back and starts singing with us in the middle of this concert. I'm like, thank God for Wake that he knows all these celebrities from Boston. But of all the years, Wake, all the dudes you've met, like, give us a couple of the celebrities that you've met because you're, of your time in Boston, and there's so many people that love the Red Sox.
Wow. I mean, Kenny Chesney was one of the biggest ones, especially as an entertainer. He was a huge Red Sox fan. And to this day, he comes back to Gillette Stadium and has his concert there. And it's actually incredible. Meeting a lot of the Patriots players. Obviously, Tom Brady was one of them, winning all those Super Bowls. And he'd come around to Fenway a lot and say hi and come into the clubhouse and do all that stuff. And Ben Affleck was a big guy back in the day when he became famous, and he was dating J-Lo at the time.
He's dating her again.
He's locked in again. Come full circle.
That's awesome, though. Full circle. Yeah, exactly.
What about Mark Wahlberg? You ever met Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, I've met him a couple times. Yeah. I actually ran into his brother the other night. He invited me to play this event in Detroit. I think I might show up there.
Donnie?
Oh, that'd be.
There's so many.
Patrick, I think.
Gotcha.
I don't remember.
Me and Casey are closet Donnie Wahlberg fans because we both went to his show in the last 2 weeks.
We just went to the New Kids on the Block show. I thought I thought maybe Donnie invited you to dance with the New Kids out on the stage.
No, thanks.
Oh my God!
A few adult cocktails, I definitely would have been.
Oh, I know you would have, man. Oh man, so Wake, I want to just fast forward a little bit. When you got to 200 wins, bro.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, just to do the things that you did in Boston, for your name to live in so many of the record books as one of the greatest pitchers of all time, and such a great pitcher in baseball history. Not just Boston Red Sox. You're one of the best pitchers to ever play Major League Baseball. Can you take us back to what that 200 wins meant for you and your time there in Boston?
Yeah, it was a great milestone to reach. I was 45 years old at that time. I knew my time was running out. Unfortunately, it took me 8 tries to get my 200th win. I mean, I left. I think I left 5 games with the lead, and unfortunately, we couldn't seal it. And thankfully, I went 5 innings against Toronto at home on my very last start, and I left the game winning barely. I think I gave up 5 runs. We were winning 5-4, but the offense exploded for us, and was able to celebrate my 200th win at home with the fans and with a bunch of great teammates that I was playing with for the last couple of years there. Veritek was one of them, and it was pretty cool. It was really cool.
That's awesome, man. It was cool for me. It was cool for everybody that's your friend to see you, kind of pull that off. When I look back, there's two final things that we do. We like to look back and ask guys, who owned you and who did you own?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Who owned me? Well, there was a number of guys. It's a small sample, but Nelson Cruz, I think he was 7 for 7 off me with three jacks, I think. Magglio Ordonez was pretty good against me. I think it was over 400. Trying to think who else.
No, 390, not 400.
390, not too bad. Yeah. Aaron Rowan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could you tell when
Ordonez actually changed his stance? He hit me softball style.
Did he really?
He wore me out. Yeah. Like he put his feet together and held his hands to just relax.
It's so funny how that works because we had Michael Young on the other day, and when I brought up your name, he almost threw up, because he couldn't go near you. But let me give you this one thing, Case. This is amazing. In the steroid era, okay?
Right.
I'm going to read the 10 guys, Tim, that you struck out the most in your career during the steroid era. Okay, ready? Giambi, A-Rod, Jeter, Frank Thomas, Jorge Posada, Carlos Delgado, Miguel Tejada, Palmeiro, Alex Gonzalez, and Bernie Williams, and Juan Gonzalez.
What?
And Jim Tomei.
I didn't know
Jim
that.
Tomei. You're
You send that to me?
Dude, most of your strikeouts came
That's pretty
against
cool.
some of the greatest Hall of Famers that we already have, and some guys who would or would not at some point regarding of what they
Right.
put in their bodies. Dude, you struck them all out. That's your
cool.
list. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Do you know who
I
gave?
had no idea.
Really? A-Rod has the
That'd be
most
right.
homers off of you. He had 8. But otherwise, like you didn't really get hit that well. People must have hated facing you, like hated.
Dude, when you faced the problem with facing a knuckleballer like Wake, your aggressiveness kind of leaves you because you have to wait for that ball to dance one more time. It's so different than something that's coming on one plane where it's like, okay, that's a fastball. Even the slider comes on that plane, so a bad slider stays true, a hanging curveball. But when you faced Wake, you had to wait for the last tick because that's where you were getting beat. He was beating you late. That's why Wake was so good. And when he was on with that knuckleball, you kind of lose your aggressiveness because you're like, if you get aggressive on a knuckleballer, especially a guy like, not a knuckleballer, a guy like Wake, he was different. And I didn't face the Negros, but Wake was in his own class. You couldn't be aggressive because he preyed on it. He preyed on aggressive hitters. And you go back and look at all those guys that struck out, they're all aggressive hitters. They're all big home run guys,
Yeah. So cool.
Incredible.
What I love the most is switch hitters would hit right-handed off me.
Right.
Yeah,
Most
why?
of them, because they said they didn't want to mess up their left-handed swing in a 3-game series. If I was pitching in that series, they would hit right-handed. But I loved it because I threw a really good curveball, and they never saw a curveball from the right side. They'd see the left-handed curveball.
Cool.
But if I ever got in trouble, I'd throw a curveball at them.
But see, I think that's what Sean's saying is what the difference is. You were a pitcher who just happened to have one of the greatest knuckleballs in the history of the world, but you weren't just a knuckleballer throwing knuckleballs up there. Like, that's so cool.
That's so great. All right, wait. The last thing we go ahead.
Oh no, I said one more stat that was really cool, and I appreciate you giving me those numbers. That was really cool. But what was really cool for me is that Derek Jeter had the most at bats against me.
121 plate appearances. 121, Sean. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Crap.
I pitched against him most of his career. He retired after I had already retired, but that was getting to face him that many times is pretty cool.
Very cool.
That's really cool.
Didn't get to 300 against you, 298, so you kept him down. You kept him under.
Yeah,
nice.
That's right.
Under 300.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wait, the last thing we do a game called 9 and 90. Chinch is going to ask 9 questions. They're really just kind of dumb questions. They're really dumb. And he asked them to me first, and then you answer. So I'll answer first, and then you answer.
Yeah, answer the same question. All right, ready? We'll do this quick, Shawnee.
Hall of Fame baseball broadcaster Marty Brenneman here. It's time for 9 in 90, the most ridiculous segment in all of sports.
Would you rather nap on a reclining chair or lay out on a couch for a nap?
Oh, I'm a recliner guy, especially nowadays.
Gotcha.
Yeah, recliner for me, for sure.
All right, M&M's or Kit Kat?
Peanut M&M's? Peanut M&M's.
Okay.
I'm a peanut M&M's guy.
Yeah, me too. Peanut M&M's.
Oh, wow, 2 for 2 on the same. All right, what's a creepier story? Alice in Wonderland or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Because they're both terrifying in my opinion.
I kind of think the Willy Wonka one's a little creepy. You know?
I agree, especially when you see the second one.
Oh my God,
See the
Johnny
second
Depp.
one. That's really creepy.
Yeah.
With Johnny Depp.
I'm with
Oh
you.
my
Yeah.
God.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let my kids watch it.
No, it's terrifying.
That was weird.
Yeah,
That's weird.
that's like the same thing. Like Disney movies, somebody always dies in the beginning, and then like 4-year-old kids, you send them. I'm like, why are we watching this? The deer's Pammy's mother's on fire right now. Anyway, would you rather be able to play 10 different instruments, Sean, or speak 10 different languages?
I think 10 different languages. I just think that would be super cool. And then I just travel everywhere and dominate everywhere I went.
I would want to play 10 different instruments. I played a little bit of a guitar, and I love music, but to be able to play 10 instruments would be pretty cool.
Nice. All right. You should be able to pick a guitar pretty good with those nails you got, right?
Yeah,
You have the greatest nails in the planet. All right, Case. Steak, rare, medium, well done.
Oh, I'm a
Give it to me, Case.
I'm a rare guy. Rare.
Pittsburgh.
Medium rare.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, you got to use the accent.
The Pittsburgher.
You know what Pittsburgh is, right?
What's that?
Wait. No, I do. Say it again.
It's what'd you say? It's not medium rare. It's more on the rare.
More
side.
rare. Yeah. In Pittsburgh, they say give it to me
seared.
still mooing. They want it still mooing. They in Pittsburgh they think it's ahi tuna. Turns out it's a ribeye. Turns out it's a ribeye. So they say, hey, just sear it on both sides and give it to me. Like, hey, this thing's still mooing. He's like, hey, it's Pittsburgh. Who gives a shit?
All right, this is a tough one. What would hurt more?
Wait. Wake didn't answer because I know what his.
Oh, I'm
Medium
sorry.
rare.
Medium rare.
Medium rare. Yeah.
I'm with you on that too. I agree. All right, this is a tough one. What would hurt more in their primes? A Pedro fastball between the numbers, or a Papi liner off your shoulder blade?
I'd say a John Cena chop hurts worse than both those things.
I agree.
Okay, all right, last one. This is tough. You guys get out of your chairs right now and walk onto a baseball field. Tim Wakefield throws 10 knuckleballs to Sean Casey. What are the results?
I mean, I'm thinking I could definitely put 2 in play. I think that's what I think, because Wake could probably still, I'm not kidding you, Wake could probably still throw his close to the knuckleball he threw in the big leagues, and I can't hit close that I used to, so if I put 2 in play, let's go.
I agree. I think he can get 2 in play, but I have to warm up first.
Yeah, there you go.
You gotta get this shoulder going.
Nice.
It's been a while.
Oh my God,
It's been a while.
Case.
Wake, man, thank you so much for taking the time with us today, brother. This has been
great.
so
Thanks, Chase.
fun, man. So fun,
I
dude.
enjoyed it. Thanks for the invite, and let's
Awesome.
do it again sometime.
Dude,
sure,
I'd
man.
love to, man. Tell Stacy and the kids I said hi, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. Are you going down to David's event this year, you think?
I am. Yeah. You gonna be there?
I think I'm going to be there too, so hopefully I'll see you down there.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, brother. You're the best,
Awesome,
man.
man.
Good luck at volleyball tonight.
Yeah. Thanks. See ya.
See you, brother. Thank you, man.
Later.
Dude, you said it was going to be so awesome. What a great friend. What a great guy. He's funny as hell. He's so cool.
Dude.
And he's a legend,
So
man. He's a legend. There's only
Dude,
5 of him in the world. In the history of the world,
is-
probably, right?
He is a legend, dude. Like I said, you know, he have all the Red Sox numbers and everything. Dude, the guy is a legend in Major League Baseball forever. He's one of the greatest knuckleball pitchers ever. You know, the other ones you think of are Phil and Joe Necro, obviously
Yeah.
Candy Audie. There's been some good ones, but Wake's the guy you really think of about the knuckleball just because of those teams in Boston. And
Yeah.
he's a legend in Boston, man. He's beloved there. But one thing about it though, bro, he's such a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for me, when I go back and look at my career, I think about more of the good guys I played with and the guys that I really liked. And Wake was one of those guys. And whenever I still see him and wherever we are, you know, when we get a chance to hang out, you know, he's still one of my favorites.
Yeah, dude. Well, he was one of my favorite players, too, anyway. And I've gotten to run into him here and there in my career, and he's always been so nice of a guy. And he seems funny as hell. Like, it's like one of those guys where it's like what is it? When women want to meet him and when men want to be him, kind of.
The most interesting man in the world. Or whatever it was.
Yeah. So I'm so glad we got him on, dude. I loved when he was showing us the knuckleball. And,
so
fun.
cool, man.
Can't wait to
Yeah,
see that
so-
once we finish the edit of this. I'm psyched.
Yeah.
So great.
So
Thanks,
cool.
man.
And he brought out the picture when John Cena chopped him.
Yes. He had it. That's so great. Oh my God. You've been telling me that story.
I took that picture and sent it to him.
That was like, you ever see the movie Memento?
Yeah.
It was like in Memento when he's just standing there and you don't know where he's from and he's looking at the picture of himself. It's like Tim Wakefield, a huge bruise going down his entire body. You guys have to look at our YouTube page when this comes out and watch, see the.
Also, too, I told that story on Seth Meyers. You can YouTube Seth Meyers, Sean Casey, maybe John Cena. But John Cena came on a couple weeks later after I was on, and Seth Meyers asked him about that.
Oh, right.
And you got to hear from John Cena's point of view when he was chopping, you know, Wake, and Van Avery. And
it sounds like it was a bloodbath. Like he was just turning and just like cleaning house.
Bro, it was incredible. I'm like, this guy, I think this guy really is a Rays fan because he's trying to take us all out here. Like, we've opened up a can of worms with John Cena. He's chopping everyone in the freaking place.
Oh my God, so good. Great story. Great guest.
Man.
Awesome time, man. I'm happy
awesome
about this
stuff, brother. And let's keep it rolling, man. Let's keep the subscriptions coming. Everybody out there, if you haven't subscribed to us, I know we listen to podcasts too. Like, subscribe. It helps us a ton. Download us and keep sharing us with everybody. And we're getting bigger and bigger. We got the great Big Lambooski now doing his thing for fantasy football. If you're a fantasy football fan, tune into the Big Lambooski. One of the best in the business. And Fun Back Friday. Chinch, I love you, man. I will see you, brother. Great job today, bro.